All right, welcome aboard, everybody. It is the Manchild here solo tonight with a very special guest. He's been doing special things, and we've been seeing him on our television screens the last couple of weeks. Joining me now is PGA golfer extraordinaire. He's right here from Central New York, Kevin Roy. What's up, Kevin? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Our broadcast, by the way, tonight is brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac down on East Genesee Street, right here in Syracuse. Kevin, let's talk a little bit about this past weekend. What are you feeling? A third place finish. This is the highest place you've finished in your PGA Tour career. Some Boco bucks. I saw about $500,000 going into the old bank account. I don't know how quickly that happens. Talk a little bit about what it was like to be in contention in a PGA Tour event.
Yeah, obviously, last week was, a dream week, really. It's obviously what I've always kind of dreamt of, getting in contention and coming down the stretch on a Sunday afternoon, trying to win a PGA Tour event. And, I think I've been playing pretty darn good the last few months. Kind of feeling a lot of good things with my game. The eighth place in Detroit the previous week, and then to kind of roll it over and have an unreal week last week was awesome. But yeah, I was, I got to be honest, I was a little more nervous on Saturday than I was
Wow.
on Sunday. For some odd reason, I had my wife and daughter with me both weeks, so I was able to wake up Sunday morning and hang with them in the morning, and we were catching a flight Sunday night, so we are kind of getting organized and everything. But when I got to the course, for some reason I just felt calm. I had a really, really good warm up. I really did. I love the golf course, and I went out there and obviously, had another dream start on a Sunday. Birdied the first two holes. Swing was feeling awesome. And then and basically told myself, I go, look at man, you're in contention, making the turn on a Sunday in a PGA Tour event. So let's just go have some fun with it and see how crazy we can get. And I was bummed I missed that putt on 17.
Oh, one stroke and you could have been in a playoff and literally playing for your first tour win. You must look back at stuff and go, gosh, if I just had that one shot. Which one were you thinking of? It sounds like you were thinking about that one on Sunday.
Well, yeah, I hit a really good putt on Sunday. I was playing with Cameron Champ, and I saw he kind of had a chip that was not really on my line, but you kind of see what the green contour was doing, and it took a pretty hard right-hand turn. So I thought for sure my putt was going to break right, and it just didn't break as much as I saw. But if I had to look back, my Saturday 9-iron on 11, I caught it a little heavy and it came up in that front bunker, and it kind of like semi-plugged, and I ended up making a bogey, and unfortunately bogey the last two holes or 12 too. So if I could take one swing back, it would definitely be that 9-iron from the fairway on Saturday on a number 11. I would just probably chip an 8-iron and make sure I got it past the pin.
Yeah, let's talk about that back nine on Saturday because those were some hard times for you. All of a sudden, you're playing such good golf and you had a little stretch, just a 9-hole stretch where things got a little bit shaky. Talk about that stretch and then the fact that you had to try to respond on Sunday, which you certainly did.
Yeah, Saturday was kind of blustery. We had wind kind of coming from every direction. TPC Deere Run it's pretty tree lined, so you kind of get down by the river and you get some swirling going on. So, like I said, I was a little more nervous and anxious on Saturday, especially when I made the turn and I had the solo lead for a while, so all the camera crews showed up, and not that I'm afraid to play in front of a camera, but it just was, obviously I never, it was kind of my first time, I guess, holding the lead, especially on the weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, my swing got a little loose, a couple non-committed swings. But I hung tough and, I kept it under par, which was, I was happy with that. Obviously birding the first 4 holes and only shooting 1 under, I was a little bummed
Wow.
with, but I was very happy to respond how I did on Sunday.
When you're rolling like that, 4 birdies to start a round, I mean, what does that do for your confidence? What does that make you feel about how the rest of that day is going to go?
Yeah, obviously it's a big confidence boost. It's a dream start. The first couple holes at the Deere Run last week are gettable. One's either a driver or 3-wood in a wedge, and then 2 is a par 5 that's reachable. So, it's kind of important to get off to a good start. At least get one or two under through four, or you kind of behind the eight ball. But yeah, to get all four of them was yeah, that's a dream start on a Saturday. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Now I was going to ask you, so you talk about, hey, being in legitimate contention on a Sunday, and what I think you were within 4 strokes when you started that round. Overnight, looking at, I think you were 4 back. We're
Yeah.
all looking at these numbers, going, is Kevin still in this thing? Can he get back in this thing? Can he get back at the top of the leaderboard? Because when you're at the top of the leaderboard, people, it grabs people's attention. It certainly gets people talking about you. I'm going to throw this little picture up here of you. So, do you have a Sunday color? When you're in contention, is it black? Is this your Sunday color? Have you ever kind of even thought about that? We know Tiger Woods obviously had that great tradition. Does Kevin Roy have a tradition when he might be in contention on a Sunday?
I don't. I usually I leave my outfits to my wife. And this week we left it to my daughter. We kind of put a couple of shirts out on the bed, and we told her to go pick one out. So
Well, she's dressing you well. This is a
she
nice
went
look
with
here.
black, very just a casual, normal outfit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. 65 on Sunday is not a bad score. So maybe I'm a black shirt guy now on Sundays.
All right, you might have to pull that back out for sure. Listen, you come across when I watch you, and I've seen you now several times on television, not just this weekend, but in other tournaments where you've played well. You come across as somebody very laid back, very little in the reaction department. I saw a little fist pump on one of those putts over the weekend. Is that the way you really are? Let's talk about what's going on inside and how that emotes outside for Kevin Roy.
Yeah, I started working with a mental coach, Brian Kane, almost 3 years ago now. So yeah, I mean, I like to think I'm a pretty laid back guy. Obviously, I'm a very competitive guy, and I want to play good golf and do really well. But I try to be as laid back and as casual as possible on the golf course. We kind of keep it. We talk about, like Brian and I would talk. If someone sees me walking down the fairway, I don't really want them to know if I'm six under or six over.
Right.
Not showing too much emotion playing great, and obviously not showing too much emotion if I'm playing bad. So just try to keep, as calm, cool, and collected as possible. But yeah, I mean, there's some of those putts, Saturday, a fist pump came out. I know there was a couple putts I made that, definitely were either a momentum builder or, obviously the putt on Sunday on 18. I told myself if I'm making that, there's definitely a fist pump coming out. But yeah, for the most part, I try to stay nice and calm and even keel out there.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. Today's broadcast, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac and Acura down on Genesee Street in Syracuse. Kevin, you know, let's talk a little bit about crowd reaction. One of the things I noticed as I was watching the tournament both Saturday and Sunday this weekend and seeing a lot of your shots was, you made some big putts and like we said, you were in contention quite a bit on those 2 days. The crowd was kind of docile when Kevin Roy made a putt. And I was like reacting to that, like, what the heck? Come on. That was a big putt for Kevin. Why aren't these people reacting? Do you hear that? What is that like for someone that, like you, is really a relatively unknown on the tour? You're trying to establish your place there. And I'm sure that's going to get better if you continue to play well. But do you notice that? Do you feel that at all?
Sometimes for sure. It depends on who I'm playing with. I was playing with Cameron Champ Saturday and Sunday, and Siwoo Kim on Saturday, and obviously they've been around. I mean, Siwoo's a President's Cupper. I mean,
Yeah.
he's won a few times. So yeah, you're definitely hearing walking up the fairways, "Come on, Siwoo," or "Come on, Champ," a little bit more than "Come on, Roy." But
Right.
I don't know. There was a pretty good group out there that kind of got behind me, especially on Sunday. I think they're like college kids, but they kind of knew I was a little bit of
Nice.
the underdog. So kind of they were going nuts when I was making a putt or hitting good shots. So I was kind of feeding off them a little bit to kind of keep that momentum going.
Well, I can assure you, Kevin, all of Central New York was cheering every putt that you made. Let's talk about that sand shot. I guess there was a little controversy. I didn't really see it as controversy. I know you've already kind of addressed it. You didn't get out of a bunker. Ball rolled back. It was near where your feet were. It was tough to tell on television how close that was, and the rules of golf were a little tricky there. I know you went and talked to an official. So talk about that particular situation, and then just talk in general. How often, or have there been any unusual situations you've gotten into on the pro tour where you've had to consult officials? How often do you make that move?
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, any kind of rules thing or anything, I mean, I always call a rules official
It's a
over.
good idea.
I mean, that's why they're out there. I mean, that's what they're getting paid to do. So,
Yeah.
why would I even put myself in that position to, maybe make a mistake? So yeah, I mean, so I had I had a really bad lie. I couldn't get it out of the bunker. And where the ball came to rest, I've seen it on TV and everything. It definitely looked somewhat close. However, my ball was, I mean, easily a foot and a half to 2 feet in front of the mark,
Hmm.
which for then is my mark is now out of my line of play. So I mean, it's not going to interfere with my play, which means I am able to rake it because I'm not technically improving my lie.
Right.
Now, if my ball was closer to my footprint, where I could potentially hit where my footprint was, then I would have to play it as it lies because then I would be improving my lie. So, yeah, the Twitter the Twitter warriors were going
Of
nuts,
course.
and it took everything I had in me to not respond. But there was just one of them. He was a podcaster. I basically had to respond to him, and then it kind of blew up from there. But it is what it is. I was just defending myself. I was just like, hey man, like it's a hard argument for those guys considering I called the rules official over and the rules official told me I could do it. So I don't know why they were coming at me, but I tried to clear it up as much as possible.
Let me go back and touch base with you a little bit on the Rocket Classic the week before. You finished in 8th, a very, very good finish, another top 10 for you, your third of the season. You shot a 62 in the opening round on Thursday. Kevin Roy on fire. Let's talk about that 62 and how that kind of affected your confidence a little bit in that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, before I get to the Rocket, I'd probably look back at RBC, Canadian Open. I mean, I played really well up there. I was probably one or two swings away from a potential top 10 there too. Kind of had a couple sloppy mistakes, but I hit it great. I've been putting much better. So yeah, I mean, going into the Rocket Classic, I knew my game was in a good spot. I mean, 10 under is pretty insane. Ever really expect to do that, but
Right.
I got off to a good start and I was making some putts and, I had a great grouping that week, the first 2 days with Joel Damon and Keith Mitchell. And, I think you can see from some of the videos that, when I made that birdie on 18, they were pretty cool and clapping for me. So, obviously they're vets out here and they've been around it. So it was cool to see them cheering for me. And, but yeah, that's a round that, obviously I'll remember for a while, even though it was only a course record for 24 hours.
So is this a matter this season for you of kind of growing confidence? I mean, really what you've achieved this season, I mean, some of the numbers are terrific. Let me roll some stats out at you in terms of what you've done this season. All right, first of all, on the year, 3 top 10s, 7 top 25s. Very, very impressive. You're 71st in the FedEx Cup standings. We're going to talk about that Magic 70 and what that means to you. We'll get to that. 18 events this year, 12 cuts made, 17th in overall scoring average. Very, very good at 70.2. 28th in total strokes gained, 45th in driving distance, 6th approaches from over 200 yards. You seem to like those long ones going into the greens, and 3rd in 3-putt avoidance overall on the PGA Tour. These are some pretty good numbers for you.
Yeah. I've always, kind of after this season, my brother likes to kind of do some stats and stuff, but after the season, at Korn Ferry, I had obviously one of my better seasons of my professional golfing career last year. So, to look back at that and then kind of roll it over in playing some nice golf out here on the tour again is obviously awesome. But yeah, the stats are good. I started working with a new putting coach, Ralph Bauer, probably maybe a little over a month ago. So it's been really nice to kind of see, some of the hard work we've been putting in on the greens kind of paying off. I've been seeing a lot more, shots gained on the greens, which, obviously, if you're gaining shots putting, you're probably going to be, posting some good scores. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very pleased with, the stats. I know I'm not a big stats guy, but I see them and look at them every once in a while. But, the most important ones for me are obviously, good driving distance or good driving stats. And then, obviously around the greens, chipping and putting.
Talking with Kevin Roy, professional golfer on the PGA Tour. We're going to get into that 70 in just a second. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac. We're going to take 30 seconds right here and give our friends a chance to tell you all about them.
Cadillac certified pre-owned vehicles, exclusively available in Central New York at your participating Cadillac dealer, Crest Cadillac. Each one must meet high standards and receives a 172-point inspection, along with a 1-year unlimited mile warranty after the original warranty expires. Come into Crest Cadillac in Syracuse today for exceptional offers on Cadillac certified pre-owned models. CrestCadillac.com.
All right, we are back talking with golfer Kevin Roy, PGA Tour pro from good old Central New York, right here in Syracuse. A massive third-place finish in the John Deere Classic this past weekend. He's in Louisville, Kentucky, getting ready for his next tournament. I want to talk to you about that. But let's talk about that Sweet 70. So you're sitting at 71st in the FedEx Cup standings right now, the FedEx points standings. The top 70 make the playoffs, so the playoffs start in a few weeks, and you could get into that playoff, at least certainly for the first event, which would, I would assume, be a really nice goal for you. But let's talk about that Magic 70 and how important is it to you? Is it now part of the goals for Kevin Roy this season to get inside that top 70?
Yeah, it's definitely a goal. It was a goal, going into the season, back in when we started up the year, but now it's super realistic. But yeah, the 70 number is huge. We got 4 more regular season events, and then we start in Memphis, the first playoff event. So, we're right there. So we're gonna look to keep the pedal down, and it's not even just 70. I want to see how high up I can get. Obviously top 50. Would exempt me for the all next year and in all the elevated events. So I would say top 50 is probably a little bit more of a goal than the 70. But either one, I would be thrilled with.
So 50 is the goal to get to, and you've got how many tournaments now before we get to the FedEx Cup playoffs that you'll have a chance to play in? How many do you intend to play in?
I'm going to play in them all. So I'm here in Louisville this week for the ISCO Championship. Next week, we're going out to California, to Tahoe for the Barracuda. And then from there, we'll go up to Minnesota for the 3M Open. And then from there, we go to Greensboro for the Wyndham. And that will be the last.
So 4 events.
4 events left in the regular season, then the playoffs, and then we'll have the whole fall series.
Wow. Intangibles. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. A few years ago, you kind of walked away from the tour, and then you made your way back. I understand you were doing some bar backing. Let's talk a little bit about that part of Kevin Roy's life and how things have changed. Obviously, you're very dedicated to your craft right now and really having a nice deal of success. Let's talk about that, getting back on it, and how glad are you that you ended up coming back to golf?
Yeah, obviously I'm super glad, but looking back at it, I think stepping away was probably a really good decision for me. I was, I wouldn't really say I was burnt out, but I was frustrated with how my golf was going. I wasn't playing very good. I didn't really have a place to play. And as we all know, golf is pretty darn expensive. So, I just kind of had I was just kind of going through it. I was like, I don't really know if this is what I want to do. Do I want to be almost 30-year-old that, has no money and trying to chase this crazy dream. And,
yes.
So I stepped away and I tried to help my brother out a little bit. He was doing medical sales. I would, kind of going around picking up units for him. And then, weekends and stuff, I'd be doing some bar backing at the Green Lemon, it's called, down in Tampa. And, just making a little bit of money, seeing what I wanted to do. And then, I don't know. I think I went and played a round of golf and I shot like 5 under, and I'm like, man, that was fun. Like, maybe I do want to do this. And I just kind of rededicated myself, and it was, it was more of like practicing with a purpose, getting in the gym, and just doing kind of all the quote unquote right things to do with it, to try to get to the next level. And man, I'm obviously thrilled that I gave the game another shot, and but I wouldn't change the journey for anything. It's been a hell of one.
How does being the son of a golfer? I know your dad, Jim, very well. He gives me golf instruction from time to time. But I know him a lot as a person too. He's such a positive person. I love being around him. It's almost infectious. How has that, being the son of a golfer, a guy that has played on the PGA Tour himself, has played on the senior tour himself, loves the game of golf, is pretty dedicated to it himself. How has that affected your ability to play the game?
Yeah, it's obviously awesome to have a dad that's, done pretty much everything that I've done. He's obviously played at the highest level, both PGA and Champions Tour. And I will give him the credit. He's way more of a range rat than I ever will be, but it's great to, be able to kind of ask him questions or bounce ideas off him, or, give him a phone call and talk to him about good and bad rounds of golf. Yeah, it's fun. He never, he's an awesome dad. He never pushed me into golf. I played all the sports growing up. He just kind of would ask, "Hey, I'm going to go to the golf course. Do you want to go?" But I was never forced. So yeah, it's fun. We still have some very competitive matches down in Florida, especially when we get my brother involved too, and some trash talking going on. It's been awesome. We all live within a mile of each other down in Florida, so we play a lot of golf especially when I'm home.
Your poor brother. I mean, he's got to compete against two pros. He's not a bad golfer either. I've seen him play golf too here
Yeah.
in Central New York. He can play a bit, but that's got to be a huge confidence boost for him. He can beat you guys in a spirited game of family golf there. Let me ask you a little bit about having to shoot in the 60s. One of the things that was blowing my mind in looking at some of these scores, and in particular even this weekend, the John Deere, is people that are on the leaderboard, people at the top of the leaderboard, shooting 4 rounds in the 60s. I mean, golf has gotten awful, awful tough to win when you got to go 4 times in the 60s just to be in competition to win an event. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's it's very hard out here, especially to win. It's not going to be given to you. You got to go earn it. But yeah, I mean, I'll give all the credit to the Korn Ferry Tour for teaching me to go low. I mean, you look at those scores every single week. I mean, these guys are shooting mid to low 60s every week, it seems like. So, to be able to graduate from the Korn Ferry Tour twice now, it obviously taught me that how to go low, and when you get off to a good start, to keep it going instead of trying to just make pars and stuff. So I'll definitely give some credit to the Korn Ferry Tour. Maybe, slightly easier courses out there, but it certainly teaches you to have to go shoot those, 65s to 62s. And so to carry that over to, the PGA Tour and do it a few times has been awesome. There are, John Deere, it is a typical course where you're going to have to go make birdies. There are some courses out here like this week. I played 9 holes this week up here in Louisville, and I after 9 holes, I don't think we're going to see, a mid 20 under winner.
Okay.
Roughs up, greens are firm. I think the course it's pretty baked out, and I think they're going to keep it that way. So that you might see a little bit more carnage this week than you did at the John Deere with those soft greens.
Let's talk about confidence. I mean, is Kevin Roy's confidence right now as high as it's been on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm very happy where my golf game's at. I'm very comfortable with my swing. I send videos to my dad and my swing coach down in Florida, Dustin Olahowski, all the time. Both of them keep saying my swing's probably the best they've ever seen it. So obviously that gives me some confidence. But yeah, I mean, I feel very good through my bag. Like I said, I've seen some putts go in. My driver is the best club in my bag. I've been driving it great. So yeah, confidence is pretty high.
Your natural progression on a tour. I mean, do you feel like there's been a natural progression here over the 3 seasons where you've had a chance to kind of find your game and find your niche? So when you're standing next to, dare I say, a Rory McIlroy, you're not freaked out like I probably would be. I mean, just talk about that, being around these guys and how your level of confidence maybe is making that a little bit easier on someone like yourself.
Yeah, this is obviously my second go at it out here. So I've seen all the guys out here plenty of times now. I'll be the first to admit my rookie year, I was certainly a little uncomfortable.
Starstruck, right?
Yeah, it's just like I went from having a locker next to some Korn Ferry guys to now my lockers when Scotty's in the field.
Yikes.
We're right next to each other because we're alphabetical. But
yes,
I'm not really starstruck anymore. It's more of I think I've proven to myself that I can compete out here. So it's just, it's golf. So just going to go out and continue what we're doing, continue what we're working on, and, just kind of see how good we can get.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier, just nutrition, fitness, these things. How important has that become part of you, the golfer now? Is it becoming a more well-rounded product for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm doing something with my body pretty much every day, especially when I'm on the road. When I'm home, I have a trainer down in Lakewood Ranch, Tyler Hosey. We're 3 days a week, 6 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, Friday when I'm home. He sends me a workout plan for when I'm on the road. So usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays before tournament, we're doing some sort of some working out. And then I go and see the physios out here on tour pretty much every day. It's more of just kind of routine, stretching, mobility. If something's stiff, they'll work on it a little bit. Just go to the recovery trailer and jump in the cold tub or do the Normatec legs. So yeah, we're doing something pretty much every day to keep. I'm 35 now, so my bike's going to start aching
Right.
here soon.
Good grief. Just man, how it feels, Kevin. I'm a lot older than you are. We'll end it with family. You mentioned your wife. You have a daughter, I believe, right?
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about family life on the tour. How often is your family with you? How's that going?
Yeah, I love when they're with me. They were with me the last 2 weeks, which obviously was very special to have back-to-back top tens with them. My daughter Mia, she turned 2 a couple weeks ago, so she's at a very fun age right now for us. Running around, keeping us busy. But yeah, I love having them on the road. My wife Annie, she's still working. She's a sports reporter up there for the Cincinnati Reds, so she's flying back up to Cincinnati tomorrow.
Nice.
Which actually is probably only a little over an hour away from me. So
From Louisville, right?
we might try to meet up sometime this week. But they'll I think they're going to come to Minnesota and then they're going to come to Wyndham. So we're apart for a little over a week, and then we'll have 2 weeks together again on the road. So it's we're a traveling family for sure.
Well, look, Kevin, I mean, you may not hear it that much when you're making those putts on the tour, but I can tell you Central New York is roaring loud right now for Kevin Roy. Every time you make one, every time your name's on that leaderboard, when we see you at the top of that leaderboard, it goes to another level. So I hope you're feeling that a little bit. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of time here with the folks here at Central New York who desperately want to hear how you're doing. Sounds like you're having a good time playing some pretty good golf.
Yeah, having a blast. I appreciate all the support up there in Central New York. My brother's playing in the member guest up in Tuscarora this weekend. So if you want another Roy to go root for, he'll be up there. So hope to get up to Central New York here soon. Hopefully my schedule will allow me, but yeah, I definitely appreciate all the support.
All right, there he is, Kevin Roy, PGA Tour Pro. Third place finish this past week. Still trying to get his first win. Maybe he'll get it. Certainly trying to crack that top 50. Going to be fantastic if he's able to do that. Kevin, thanks so much. Today's broadcast brought to you again by our friends at Crest Cadillac.